Hello, today we're here to interview Lori. I'm Luke with Lubbock Citizens for Change. Lori was a victim of a dog attack here in Lubbock, and these are the untold stories of the consequences of not taking care of this problem. So we're going to ask Lori various different questions, and she's going to answer them honestly and tell her story. We believe it's important for these stories to get out and not to give them only 2 seconds in the media. So this is going to be an in-depth look at the story of the dog attack on Lori. So we're going to get started now. Can you tell us a little about yourself and a typical day before the dog attack?
Well, I'm a very dedicated worker and that, a student, and I'm really bad about rescuing dogs and fostering dogs and stuff. I try to stay active. I try to help people where I can, and of course, naturally, the dogs and that. The days vary on what I do. A lot of people sit there and say, "You're busy. You're never home," and so but that's because I'm out about trying to help in the different ways I can.
So how many dogs do you have?
I have 6 and a puppy.
6 and a puppy. So that's busy just right there.
Yes.
But you love animals.
I love my animals. I love everybody's animals. We had a play date last night. Somebody brought their dogs over so we could have a play date.
Right. Okay, so could you walk me through the events of that day when the attack happened? Like, what were you doing and how did it come about?
Well, it happened to be that the neighbor had requested a work order for a fence repair. And I was asleep and somebody knocked on my door, which was the owner of the fence company.
Okay.
And so he's like, "I'm really confused about the order. Can you help me figure it out?" I said, yes. You know, I had been over in that backyard to try to patch up the hole that the dog had chewed through the fence, you know, on our adjoining backyard.
So this is the neighbor's dog we're talking about?
It was the neighbor's dog.
Okay.
And the neighbor's dog had been chewing a hole through the fence, and she had just tried to put a little lean-to thing up, and I'm like, with all those pit bulls, you can't do that, you know? Right. So I'm like, if you will let me secure them on the fence, you know, because the dog had attacked my old English bulldoggy.
Oh.
Through the fence on February 25th, 2 weeks before my attack.
Okay, so there was signs that this was an aggressive dog.
Already, yes. And then a week later, he had killed her pit bull, who is so sweet. Oh, I love Buffy.
Okay.
But, and then, so otherwise, I told the guy, I said, let me put my dog up because she'll jump all over you, being friendly and everything. And he's like, well, I can go in the backyard. And I'm like, I wouldn't do that, you know. I think I know where the problem is.
So you were already concerned about this dog?
I was already very concerned. And the lady had a 2, 7, and a 9-year-old living with her.
Okay.
And I was very concerned about those kids. And she's like, oh, he's fine with them. And I'm like, okay. So when the guy came into my backyard and looked over the fence, I said, you know, I think right here is the problem. And he goes, yep, you're right. That's where the work order is. And he's like, I don't want to go in that backyard. And he's like middle-aged, and he's the owner of a fence company. And he said that's all he's done. And, you know, he supposedly didn't have problems with dogs.
But he's probably experienced threatening dogs as well, being in the fence business.
Exactly.
Think, right?
He said he's seen, you know,
share.
witnessed several attacks and stuff like that. But so we were standing out in the front chit-chatting, and then I noticed a movement, and I sit there and I look, and I'm like, there he is. And he's like, what? And I said, there's the dog.
So what kind of feelings did you have when you felt like this was possibly going to happen?
I tensed up a little bit, you know, knowing he attacked my dog.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's my baby.
So did you call about that dog attack previously? I mean, did you notify LAS?
No, I was trying to protect her,
right,
hoping she would do something about it, because she was the one renting the place. and it's her brother's dog.
Right.
And I was, hoping she would do something about it, but
well, that didn't happen, I guess.
But the dog came up and he sat right next to James, and James petted him. And it's like, okay. And then, and then he came up and he started sniffing on my ankles. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a normal dog thing. And otherwise, then I'm like, he's starting to nibble. So me and James, we kind of lowered our voices and shortened our sentences and that. And then the dog sat back down next to James. And it's like, okay. And then before you know it, no signs, nothing. The hair on his back didn't raise up. He didn't growl, nothing. He just jumped up and he grabbed my arm.
Oh.
He never shook his head. He just clamped down.
Right.
And kept clamping. And I'm like, he's biting me. He's biting harder. He's biting harder. I don't know how many times I said it.
Right. And that then, must have been very painful.
Yes, it was. Yeah. But I've lived on a farm. I've dealt with large animals, so I know you have to keep calm, keep your voice calm, and all that to try to keep the situation calm.
Right.
And then I said, "It's throbbing," and then he turned around and he, he's looking around. James did, and at the time he was holding the dog's head and trying to open his mouth up. And the doors on his truck is open and you can see his phone. He goes, let's go to the truck and call the police. And it's like, okay. And so I say skedaddle. He's holding the head and I was holding my arm. So this way we could move.
Yeah, you're trying to get this dog off.
Well, yeah. And instead of calling the police, he grabbed a tool to try to pry his mouth open. Well, I went ahead and followed the process to work on the other side.
Right.
So when we got his mouth open and was able to take my arm out, and I'm like, by then,
plenty of blood and other things.
Right?
Did you feel like you were in shock?
I was freaking out.
Yeah.
When I got the mouth off, then my freak out, happened, and I'm like, I don't want to leave you here, but I gotta go. I can't stay here. I'm sorry, I can't. I went running in the house. I passed out temporarily. I barely passed out onto the couch, falling onto the couch. And then when I came back, then I went ahead and called the police because I remembered he said, let's call the police. So I went ahead and did that. And from what I understand, he laid the dog down and he was kneeled on the dog and holding her head down, his head, and trying to pet him to keep him calm. And he said the dog stayed calm the whole time.
Oh.
The whole time. And
I know this is hard for you. If you need to take a break, we can.
That's okay. No, I'm fine. Otherwise,
so if James wasn't there.
If James wasn't there, if James wasn't there, I wouldn't be out front talking, But I don't know if the dog attacked me because he smelt my dog that he attacked previously.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
But, like I said, supposedly he stayed calm. He showed no aggression. The only aggression was him biting me and just clamping down. But he created nerve damage. He broke my bones. I spent the night in the hospital.
Wow.
I didn't know if my insurance was in effect or not. They wanted to do surgery, and I'm like, I got to think about the medical bills, and I don't know if my insurance is in effect and everything else. But yeah.
And so how did the police respond?
The police, the animal shelter, and the ambulance, everybody showed up. Okay. They were awesome.
And you feel like they did a real investigation, like they cared?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. One of the officers from the shelter, when I was still in the ER, he actually came up to the ER to check up on me.
Oh. Okay.
So, I was like, really, this is great.
Right.
Yeah, I saw a lot of compassion and all that.
Okay. And so, obviously, this has impacted your life after the fact. It's hard for you even to talk about it because of how it's impacted your life.
Yeah.
So why don't you share with me how it feels after the fact, and do you feel like there's any support or groups or anything you can go to deal with this emotionally?
I'm seeing a psychiatrist right now about it, and he keeps telling me to go to the shelter, to walk through the shelter, try to what they call desensitizing.
Right.
And he says, that's step one. Because, and then when you can get to a point, you're going to go in the kennel with the dog. And I'm like, really?
Yeah,
no.
We're not there yet.
Yeah. I mean, when I walk through or fly through, really, by the time I get outside, I throw up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I have seen other dogs, the little dogs I can handle. But when it comes to the larger dogs, I realize, like, if the neighbor's walking a dog, I will literally step back now.
Right.
Usually in the past, I would go up, can I pet him? But now I just step back, let them walk by and that. And I mean, this isn't me. It's not me. And I've seen some loose ones. And I know, and I can see her and see that they're friendly, the body's wagging, tail's wagging, everything else. And I can see the friendliness, but I go into a panic attack. And, I mean,
it's trauma. You've been traumatized, and you love animals, but it's just very hard to deal with. And so do you feel like there has been anything any group or anything, or do you think that's necessary?
I think we need to have a group. I mean, like AA, NA, and we have all these, people that have been abused. We have groups for all that. We need a group for this.
Right. Because this is a unique situation.
Yeah, and as much as I'm reading about it happening in the Lubbock area, Lubbock, Wilforth, and all that, I strongly believe we need it. I mean, going to see the psychiatrist about it, and I get on it. I have anxiety medicine I have to take and all that because of everything. And
so it's really affected you on a day-to-day basis.
It has affected me on a day-to-day basis. And then from the physical injuries, it's affected me on my job and everything. And on the home life, I can't unscrew the can because I've lost some use in my arm and everything. And I'm having problems with my nerves now right in here. So I've got to go back to the hand doctor.
Right.
About that.
So you're in and out of treatment all the time. And how long ago was this?
March the 9th of 23.
Okay, it's been quite a while. And
it's been over.
And it's like it happened yesterday for you.
Yeah.
And so you're dealing with all the medical and the physical and emotional parts, but what about the financial? I mean, how has this affected you financially?
It's affected me big time financially. I've had, because being alone, that's tough. So otherwise, I've had to readjust everything, and to be able to keep getting the medical, the doctor's like, well, you got to make your payment in that or we're not going to see you and all this and that. And it's like, but I've got these other bills I have to pay,
Right.
I'll get you paid. And they're like, do you want the doctor to see you? And it's like, okay. So I've had to pay on that, but I haven't been able to pay on the hospital bill and stuff
just
like that,
up.
and the ambulance bill. But then my personal bills that I've had and everything, I hadn't been able to pay on it. So my credit has gone down. So it's destroyed
your finances.
Yeah, and I've even tried credit repair, and nothing's, it doesn't work. It doesn't work out right like that.
And so we went from a dog chewing on a fence to attacking your dog to attacking you to destroying your life, basically.
Well, and killing the dog and then attacking me and destroying my life.
Right.
And now I don't get out. I don't want to go socialize because I don't want to go out.
That's terrible.
I don't. It's like, I mean, I can go out and somebody might be out front with their dog running loose, and it's like, okay, I know, the dog's friendly or they wouldn't be doing that. But I'm like, time to go back in.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
We definitely need to work to putting together a group because you are not alone. This is not the only interview we're going to do. You may be aware of Anna Tacone. She was attacked by 5 pit bulls in her living room, and they tore her to pieces. She, by the grace of God, survived.
You
already know the emotional side of that. I mean, The physical side, I mean, that's obvious, but the emotional side is what goes unseen, I think.
Yeah, because see, it's like I couldn't go see the psychiatrist because of the finances. So now
Right.
I'm at my out-of-pocket expenses. I can finally afford to go see him,
Right.
but only until the end of the year, until it starts all over again with the insurance. But yeah, I think a group would be really good because it'll give us the chance. And
so other than a support group, which is, I mean, clearly we need that. What else would you like to see changed as far as, I mean, have you thought about any policy differences that could have helped or anything like that?
there's a couple of things. I have noticed since I've moved to Lubbock, it's like, okay, it's a lot of wooden fences. Where I'm from, it's a lot of chain link fences.
Right.
But I've noticed the majority of these wooden fences are not in good shape.
Right.
And as I'm learning, a lot of these houses or rent houses or places, and the fences are in terrible shape.
So are you aware of the Supervisor Jessica Smith's Fix a Fence program that the LAS has? Have you ever been made aware of that? Yeah. There's a program to help people in the city up to, I think it's $850 to rebuild their fences. And it's not based on income. It's based on an issue with the fence. So that's one of the programs that exists the public needs to know about. I mean, that could have helped in your situation because it may have been that your neighbor couldn't afford to fix the fence.
Well, no, it would have been the owner.
Oh, the owner
of the place or the management company.
Right.
But so from what I have found out from talking to James, he said, because he works for one of the management company, contracted or whatever, and he said they don't want to fix the fence. They just want to rig the fence.
Right.
So honestly, I think the owners or the management company needs to spend the money and fix the fences correctly. Right. Instead of, saying, oh, well, we'll put a couple of planks on, where it's all rotted out right here, right. Because that's not going to do any good.
Well, even if the landlords won't take that effect, the tenant can get this funding and have it solved, because this is a problem with the wind in Texas blowing the gates open and everything else. We've got just an incredible problem with stray dogs. Not all are aggressive, but it's becoming a serious problem.
It's a very serious problem. And I have noticed the pattern is, and I don't want to pick on anybody and all that, but I've noticed the pattern. It's like when the end of the school semester gets out, it seems like the strays or the lost dogs, whatever, is on the increase. Yeah. And I mean, I love my animals. Where I have lived before, my neighbors knew I took in animals, I fostered animals, and everything else, they're great. And otherwise, I'm actually going to make a drive to Oklahoma, a 5-hour drive to Oklahoma, to give a dog to an individual for an ESP dog. And, that's going to come out of my pocket. But, that person needs the dog, and that dog, would love to have the one-on-one.
Right.
And it breaks my heart to say it, but it's being realistic. I know Lubbock is a no-kill shelter, which is awesome, but from what I'm seeing with the problem in Lubbock, we need to change it from a no-kill, because the shelter, from my fly-through, the shelter is so packed. And then when a dog is loose and somebody's like, I can't keep it, I can't turn it into LAS, for another month and all that. I'm like, the shelter's way too overfilled.
Right.
And it breaks my heart to say we need to change it from a no-kill.
Yeah.
It really breaks my heart. It's not the dog's fault.
Right. I mean, we're all animal lovers, and but there is a problem, and something definitely needs to be done about it. Our organization is trying to be a liaison for this, and we've actually had good conversation with Stephen Green. They do care. They're just overwhelmed, as you say, and we're going to work to make a system that can work, and that's going to include a reporting system where we can report back to the community what's actually being, because everybody focuses on the failures, and imagine feeling like nobody thinks you're doing anything about a problem that you work every day, overtime and everything else, to try to keep the community safe. It's just overwhelming. So we're working in every aspect, including reporting back. But one of the main things that needs to be done is we need to be able to recruit more vets for a spay and neuter program.
But those are expensive. I mean, I'm telling you from personal experience, it's expensive.
Yeah, and there's a program for that also that's already been funded.
I know PETS is, very economical, but
they're packed.
They're packed.
We need more.
They're packed. We need more PETS,
So we'll work on the legal aspect and recruitment process and everything to try to make an impact there. But the main thing that I care about mostly is the human story and the impact on people and citizens of this community. And this is the untold story, And I feel that we need to organize. We need to get together to make a change. And we need to support people like yourself that have gone through this event that has, changed your life. Right.
Because see, something I had found out, that the young man that owned the dog, I filed the affidavit for the aggressive dog. And he was declared aggressive, so he was supposed to be surrendered. The young man said he sold the dog online. And when I had
so now somebody else has this dog.
Exactly.
And who knows what could have happened.
And I've asked Mr. Green, I said, so what happens if he doesn't surrender? And he goes, well, we issue citations. And I'm like, okay, so after so many citations, then what?
Right.
Yeah.
So policies need to change because, Stephen can only do what he can do legally. He can't make up his own rules.
Exactly.
So we need to, and that's what we plan to do. Whatever is necessary to make the change, we're willing to do that. So if we need to change the ordinances, if we need to change the funding, we're going to work to do that. If we need to recruit more vets, we're going to work to do that. If we need to try to find and support the victims by creating groups, we're going to do that. So that's who I am. That's what I'm about. And that's why I really want to tell these stories, because a lot of people, they see numbers, on a sheet of paper, 1,500 attacks or aggressive dog reports this year. Well, that doesn't really mean all that much to somebody, but to actually hear it from somebody who was one of those numbers and put a face to it, to share their story, that's what I'm about. So I really appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you.
And I'm going to do my best. Our organization is going to do our best, collectively, to recruit as many people on board with bringing these stories to light and making the changes that are necessary for Lubbock. So thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
And if you need anything else, you let us know.